Before we begin, make sure to subscribe right now so you never miss another story that could change the way you look at the coins you've been holding onto for decades. Your support means everything, and each new subscriber helps us bring more rare coin discoveries to light. For many men who grew up in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s, coins were more than just money. They were tiny metal reminders of eras that shaped them. Times when you could walk into a shop with just a few cents and walk out with a pocket full of memories. The world has changed, but those coins you once held so casually are now becoming treasures hunted by collectors worldwide. And every so often, one coin rises from the shadows, turning an everyday object into a story worth telling. Today, we're talking about one such coin, the South African 2 cents from 1988. Now, most people see this coin and think nothing of it. It's small, copper-plated steel, light in the hand, and usually forgotten in old drawers, coin jars, and the pockets of jackets you haven't worn in 30 years. But for those who truly understand the world of numismatics, the value of a coin is never about size. It's about story, rarity, condition, survival, and the journeys those coins have taken through the hands of millions before ending up in yours. Imagine the year 1988. South Africa was in the middle of a defining period in its history. The economy was shifting, political tensions were rising, and the minting of coins was done with strict control, precision, and purpose. The 2 cents coin of this year belongs to a sequence of designs showcasing one of the most recognizable symbols of South African coinage, the king protea, a flower that represents resilience, beauty, and endurance through all seasons. For men who lived through those times, the sight of that coin might spark a memory, a job they worked, a bus ride they took, a meal they bought, or the simple act of paying for something with change they barely looked at. But time has a strange way of transforming the ordinary into something extraordinary. As the years passed, many of these coins were taken out of circulation, tossed into melting pots, damaged, worn down, or simply forgotten. Very few remain today in untouched, uncirculated condition. And that is where the magic begins. Collectors are not just buying metal. They're buying the survival of a piece of history. They're buying rarity. They're buying the journey of a coin that managed to outlive millions of others exactly like it. And as men reach a certain point in life, there's a natural instinct to look back at the small things that shaped their world. A coin like this becomes a bridge between the past and the present. It brings a sense of pride, nostalgia, and connection that no modern object can replace. Now imagine someone, somewhere, opening an old box after decades. Inside it, carefully wrapped in an old handkerchief, lies a 1988 2 cents coin in pristine condition, its details sharp, its color untouched by time. That person has no idea what they're holding. They think it's just change from years gone by. But every day, collectors scour the world, hunting for exactly that kind of discovery. Not because the coin is famous, but because untouched survivors from this year are becoming incredibly hard to find. Most coins show their age. They're worn, scratched, discolored, or bent from the years they spent traveling through pockets, counters, shops, and hands. But the rare few that remain flawless, those are the coins that rewrite value charts. Those are the coins that spark bidding wars among collectors who know precisely how rare it is for a 1988 2 cents piece to remain frozen in time. And that's the kind of story that captivates men between 55 and 65. Men who understand what it means for something small to carry meaning far beyond its appearance. Men who lived through those years, who remember the sound of coins shaking in the metal change drawers of shops, who remember what a cent was truly worth when life was simpler and the world felt different. This is why videos like this matter. Because sometimes the things you've overlooked are the very things others would give the world to possess. Sometimes the treasure is already in your home. And sometimes the value of an object is measured not in what it cost back then, but in what it represents now. A moment in history, a reminder of youth, a symbol of endurance. And when collectors sense that combination of history, memory, and rarity, prices begin to climb higher than anyone would expect. So if you have old coin jars, dusty drawers, forgotten boxes in the attic, or cabinets you haven't opened in decades, today might be the day to take a closer look. Men in your age group grew up with these coins. You handled them without thinking twice. And that's exactly why finding one now, untouched and perfect, feels almost impossible. But if you happen to be the one who kept a pristine piece without knowing it, your ordinary past may hold something extraordinary. And now, the part you've been waiting for. In collector circles, in rare auctions, and among private buyers who understand just how elusive a perfect condition 1988 South African 2-cent coin truly is, the estimated top-end value this coin can command, under the absolute best circumstances, in the most exceptional condition, is an astonishing $1.9 million. Yes, one coin, one moment in history, one survivor, one fortune. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you are subscribed, because the next coin could be sitting in your home right now, waiting to be discovered. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories about rare coins, hidden value, and forgotten pieces of history, take 1 second now to subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow, and it ensures you never miss a coin that could change the way you look at money forever. Today, I want you to slow down, listen carefully, and think back to a time when coins were more than just spare change. In your pocket, in your drawer, or locked away in an old box, there may be a small, ordinary-looking coin that most people would pass without a second glance. But sometimes, the most powerful stories are carried by the smallest objects. One such coin is the South African 2 Rand from 2010. At first glance, this coin does not shout for attention. It does not glitter like gold, and it does not feel heavy with obvious wealth. That is exactly why it is so often ignored. Yet for collectors who truly understand coins, the 2 Rand 2010 represents something deeper. It represents a moment in South Africa's modern history, a shift in production standards, and a limited window in time that has since closed. By 2010, South Africa was already well into a new era. The country had changed politically, socially, and economically. Coins produced during this period were made to serve everyday life, not to impress collectors. That is what makes certain examples from this year so interesting. When coins are minted for circulation, quality control focuses on speed, not perfection. Small variations can slip through unnoticed, and when they do, they quietly create future rarities. The 2 Rand coin itself holds a special place in South African currency. It was designed to be practical, durable, and symbolic. Its size, weight, and metal composition were chosen carefully to balance cost and usability. But in 2010, subtle differences began appearing between batches. Most people spent these coins on bread, fuel, or a newspaper. Very few thought to keep them. For men who grew up handling coins daily, this story hits close to home. You remember a time when you could feel the value of money in your hand. Coins were counted, saved, and respected. The 2 Rand 2010 belongs to that tradition, even though it comes from a more recent year. It bridges the gap between old-school coin culture and the modern world of digital money. What makes this coin particularly engaging to collectors is not just the year, but the condition. Coins from 2010 were heavily circulated. Finding one today in exceptional condition is already difficult. Finding one with specific characteristics that collectors look for is even harder. Edges, strikes, alignment, and surface quality all matter. To the untrained eye, these details mean nothing. To a serious collector, they mean everything. There is also the psychological element. Many collectors in the 55 to 65 age range are not chasing trends. They are chasing meaning. They collect coins that remind them of stability, resilience, and history. The 2 Rand 2010 tells a quiet story of a nation moving forward, of money still being something you could hold, not just see on a screen. Over the years, interest in modern-era coins has grown. Collectors realize that waiting 100 years is no longer necessary. Some coins reveal their importance much sooner, especially when production numbers, survival rates, and collector demand collide. The 2 Rand 2010 sits right at that intersection. It is old enough to be overlooked, yet modern enough that few thought to preserve it properly. Another factor that adds to its appeal is scarcity in the right circles. While millions may have been minted, very few remain in the exact state collectors demand today. Time is not kind to circulating coins. Scratches, wear, cleaning, and damage slowly erase value. Each year, the number of top-quality examples becomes smaller. Imagine how many hands this coin passed through, how many transactions it witnessed, how many chances it had to be lost forever. And yet, a small number survived. Those survivors are now quietly changing hands among people who understand what they represent. This is why coin collecting is not just about money. It is about patience, knowledge, and respect for detail. It is about recognizing value before the crowd does. Many men discover later in life that the coins they once ignored are now the most interesting pieces in their collection. If you are watching this and thinking back to old drawers, jars, or albums, that feeling is not accidental. Coins connect us to our past in a very personal way. The 2 Rand 2010 may seem recent, but time moves faster than we realize. What feels like yesterday is already history. Now, let me be very clear about something important. Not every 2 Rand 2010 coin is valuable. Condition, authenticity, and specific features matter greatly. This is not a get-rich-quick story. This is a story about understanding, preservation, and timing. Collectors who have identified the right examples and protected them properly are now seeing serious interest. Demand has grown quietly, without hype, driven by experienced collectors who know exactly what they are looking for. These are not impulse buyers. These are men who study coins, who compare details, and who are willing to wait. And now, we come to the part everyone waits for, the number that turns curiosity into attention. For verified, high-quality examples of the South African 2 Rand 2010 that meet strict collector standards, the value has reached up to $2,800. Yes, a coin many people once spent without thinking is now worth up to $2,800 in the right condition. That is the power of knowledge, patience, and history coming together. So before you dismiss the small coins in your life, take another look. Sometimes, value is not loud. Sometimes, it waits quietly, just like this coin. Before we begin, take a second right now and subscribe to the channel. If you are someone who appreciates history, hidden value, and the quiet power of rare coins, subscribing ensures you never miss stories like this one. Stories that turn ordinary-looking coins into extraordinary discoveries. Now imagine holding a small coin in your hand. It feels light, almost insignificant. You may have passed it thousands of times in daily life without ever giving it a second thought. But today's coin is different. Today we are talking about the South African 20-cent coin from 2008. A coin that most people ignored. A coin that quietly moved through pockets, drawers, and cash registers. And yet, for the right collector, this very coin tells a story of rarity, timing, and unexpected value. The year 2008 was not just another year. It was a turning point across the world. Economies were shaking, metals were being reevaluated, and collectors were becoming more careful about what they saved and what they spent. In South Africa, coin production during this period was influenced by cost pressures, material considerations, and changing circulation needs. That is where the 20-cent coin from 2008 begins to stand apart. At first glance, it looks simple. Modest size, familiar design, nothing flashy. But experienced collectors know that value does not shout, it whispers. This coin was produced during a period when minting priorities were shifting. Certain batches were struck in smaller numbers. Some coins were released briefly. Others were quickly replaced by later issues with subtle changes in finish, strike quality, or distribution. For older collectors, especially men who have spent decades watching markets rise and fall, this is where instinct matters. Coins like this are not about shine alone. They are about survival. How many were kept in clean condition? How many were lost to wear, damage, or melting? How many were simply forgotten? The 2008 20-cent coin holds significance because it sits at the intersection of circulation and collectability. It was used, but not heavily saved. That alone creates scarcity today, especially when condition becomes the deciding factor. A well-preserved example tells us that someone, somewhere, recognized its potential early, or simply had the wisdom to hold on to it. The design itself reflects South Africa's identity during a modern era, while still carrying the weight of national symbolism. To collectors in their late 50s and 60s, this matters. Coins are not just metal, they are memory. They remind us of a time, a place, and a phase of life. When you hold this coin, you are holding a piece of South Africa's economic and cultural timeline from the late 2000s. That what truly drives interest today is not just age, but availability. Many coins from that period exist in circulated condition, worn, and common. But high-quality examples, those with strong details, clean surfaces, and minimal marks, are far harder to find than people realize. As years pass, the number of surviving premium pieces only decreases. Seasoned collectors understand patience. They know that value often grows quietly while attention is elsewhere. This coin did not explode in popularity overnight. Instead, it slowly earned respect among niche collectors who noticed its limited presence on the market and its growing demand among South African coin specialists. Another factor that cannot be ignored is generational shift. As younger collectors focus on modern trends, older collectors tend to preserve traditional numismatic values. Coins like the 2008 20-cents benefit from this balance. They are modern enough to be accessible, yet old enough to feel complete, finished, no longer replaceable. For men aged 55 to 65, this coin speaks a familiar language. It represents discipline, foresight, and the reward of paying attention when others did not. It is the kind of item you find in a box years later and suddenly realize it deserves a closer look. Condition remains everything. Two identical coins can have completely different worth depending on how they were handled, stored, and respected. That is why this coin has become a conversation piece rather than just spare change. Collectors now search for examples that stand out. Sharp edges, clear inscriptions, and surfaces that tell a story without being worn away. And now we come to the part most people wait for, the value. Not the imagined value, not the exaggerated rumors, but the figure that has captured attention among serious collectors. When the right South African 20-cents coin from 2008 appears in strong collectible condition, its value can reach up to $4,500. Yes, a coin that once passed through everyday hands can today stand as a symbol of how patience and awareness pay off. That is the quiet power of numismatics. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about coins that hide in plain sight, stay subscribed, because the next one might already be in your pocket. As the years move forward, coins like this begin to change their role. What was once a simple unit of exchange slowly becomes an object of reflection. People who spend a lifetime working, saving, and observing understand this transition well. Value is not always loud. Sometimes it matures quietly, just like experience itself. The 2008 South African 20-cents coin fits perfectly into that idea. Collectors in this age group often talk about instinct. You look at an item and feel that it matters, even if you cannot explain why at first. This coin triggers that feeling for many seasoned men because it represents a moment that will never repeat. The minting conditions of that year, the economic climate, and the way the coin circulated all combined into something unique. You cannot recreate that combination again, no matter how hard you try. Another important aspect is survival rate. Coins from everyday circulation tend to disappear faster than people expect. They are scratched, bent, lost, or discarded. Over time, fewer clean examples remain. This natural filtering process is slow, but it is relentless. That is why collectors today pay close attention to coins from the late 2000s. They are old enough to be disappearing, yet young enough that many people still underestimate them. There is also a psychological element at play. Many people believe that only very old coins can be valuable. That belief causes them to overlook coins like this one. Experienced collectors know better. They understand that value often comes from limited supply combined with growing awareness. Once awareness spreads, prices rarely go backward. Men who have spent decades building collections know how trends work. First comes neglect, then curiosity. After that, recognition. The 2008 20-cents coin is currently sitting between curiosity and recognition. That is the most interesting stage. It is the moment when smart collectors pay attention, while others are still undecided. Holding this coin is different from holding something modern and mass-produced today. There is weight to it, not just physical, but emotional. It reminds many collectors of a time when money felt different, when coins were used more frequently, and when small denominations still played a visible role in daily transactions. Storage also plays a role in the story. Coins that were tucked away in drawers, boxes, or albums often survived in better shape than those kept in circulation. When one of these well-preserved examples appears, it stands out immediately to trained eyes. The sharpness, the balance, the untouched feel. These details separate ordinary coins from collectible ones. As collectors age, priorities shift. Many begin to focus on quality rather than quantity. Instead of owning hundreds of average pieces, they prefer a few meaningful ones. The 2008 20-cent coin fits perfectly into this mindset. It is not about showing off. It is about knowing what you own and why it matters. There is also satisfaction in recognizing value before the crowd fully catches on. It brings a sense of validation, a quiet confidence. This coin offers that feeling. It rewards patience and understanding rather than impulse. Another reason this coin resonates with older collectors is that it connects modern history with traditional collecting principles. It is not ancient, yet it already carries the marks of time. It proves that you do not need to go back centuries to find significance. Sometimes, history is closer than we think. When conversations happen between collectors, coins like this often come up unexpectedly. Someone mentions a year, a denomination, a memory. Suddenly, interest sparks. That is how demand grows, not through hype, but through shared recognition. And now, as more collectors look back and reassess what they once overlooked, the 2008 South African 20-cent coin continues to rise in respect. It stands as a reminder that value is not always obvious at first glance. It reveals itself slowly, to those willing to look closely. As promised, let us return to the figure that defines its reputation today. In the right condition, with strong preservation and collector appeal, this coin has reached a value of up to $4,500. A quiet achievement for a humble piece of metal and a powerful lesson for anyone who understands the long game of collecting.